Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Rawkode Live. I'm your host, Rawkode. Today we are going to be taking a look at Tremor. Metrics, logs, collection, pipeline, transformations, loads of really cool things for us to look at today. And it's written in Rust, which makes the project even cooler in my book. I'm always excited to see new Rust projects taking the limelight. So, before we do that, I'm going to remember to do my housekeeping for today, and that means I'm going to ask you all very kindly, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, click that bell, and get updates whenever new episodes are coming. They are regular, weekly, and loads of cool projects for us to explore. Also, we have a Discord channel where loads of people come and chat about the technologies that we cover, as well as general Kubernetes and cloud native topics. And we have a monitor and observability channel, which would be a good fit for today's episode. Also, I need to thank my employer and want to thank them, of course. They're awesome, and they allow me to spend my time playing with random technologies that I find exciting and show them to the world. So thank you, Equinix Metal. Feel free to check out the product. We have bare metal clouds. You can get $50 in credit. That is roughly 100 hours of compute, depending on which instance you choose. So enjoy. Now, we have a bit of a treat today. I am not joined by one, nor two, nor three, but four guests from the Tremor team. Hello, everyone. I'll just wave in all directions.
Hey.
So, could we start with a quick round of introductions then? I guess we'll start on the top left and work our way around anti-clockwise, finishing back on me. Please introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and a little bit more, if you wish.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Heinz, like the ketchup, no relations there, just the same name. I've done open source for 2 decades nearly. Quite enjoy it. Really happy that we could do this with Tremor too. And yes, I'm working on Tremor. This thing we are talking about today, you'll hopefully hear a bit more about it, unless we get sidetracked and spend time talking about cats. It has happened before. Yeah, I really am glad that I can have a blur background today, which is my achievement of the week. Otherwise, yeah, let's pass it on. Anup.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Anup. I'm a software engineer at Wayfair.com, currently based in Boston. So this was my first real job out of college. So I've been working with them for over 7 years now, and I've been in like various teams within Wayfair. So Tremor is the latest one among them. So yeah, I like working for Tremor with everyone here.
And I guess it's over to me. Thanks for the introduction. I guess I'm the cat herder on Tremor. So Heinz and I started about 2.5 years ago, and it went open source about a year ago. But generally, we just sit down, write code, have fun, and try and break it so that it doesn't break for anyone else in production. And now over to the youngest and newest and freshest member of the team, and perhaps the funniest, Matthias.
Yeah, hi, welcome, Matthias here. I'm the newest addition. I'm the one who's doing all the silly mistakes and bugs, and I'm trying to introduce them into our code base. But those guys always stop me. It's annoying. So yeah, I am actually also on the language and the core team of the Pony language, and this is also like how I got to know those people and how I got this job actually. And now I'm writing Rust, although I want to write Pony all the time. But it's great fun. Yes, back to you.
All right, thank you, everyone. Lots of different accents as well. We're all in different locations. I guess you're a fully remote distributed super team. Is that the best way to describe you?
We're all distributed across Berlin, except Anup, who is
He's distributed to Boston
for some strange reason. In the United States.
That is an import.
Yeah.
Yeah, we stole him from the UK.
Who stole me from Ireland?
Yes.
Okay.
So much theft.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to have to get a bell or something to keep you all in check, but we'll get through this.
Good luck.
Good luck. I know. I'm getting that feeling already. Okay, so we're taking a look at Tremor today. It's written in Rust, even though a quarter of your team wants to write Pony all the time. How does Pony and Rust connect? What's the connection there? Or is
it's like the focus on safe on the safe runtime, like memory safety, database freedom, all this stuff. But the approaches are totally different. And Rust has a much bigger community, and
yeah, I am a fan of the Pony language. I have tried many times to write more of it, but that's maybe a conversation for another day. We definitely should do a stream on Pony. I'm gonna.
That means we have half of the Pony user base here, don't we?
That's harsh.
No, that's not true. That's not fair.
We also have half of the Erlang user base here, to be fair, right, Darach? That's us too.
Okay, that is fair.
That is fair.
So I think what we've got is a collection of people that like esoteric programming languages and solving cool and hard problems. And I think that is a fantastic mix of people to be doing a stream today. So awesome.
Well, I already have tears in my eyes. This is going well.
All right, Tremor. Someone tell me what it is, please. I said at the start, it's metrics, it's logs, it's transformations, it's event processing. Let's dive into that.
So much more and so much less.
I believe we've got some slides. Is that right?
Yes, we have some custom slides, which were prepared over the last decade with a lot of care and 15 minutes over lunch. So, Tremor. Let's go a bit into it. Let's start with first the Big Bang. Tremor today is doing about 10 billion metrics or events every minute here at Wayfair. That's, by the way, where all of us work. So they effectively sponsor Tremor, which is a nice number, isn't it? 10 billion. Might be a bit more by now, so who knows? Those numbers keep going up. Quick 3 things we're going to talk about in the slides. What the heck is Tremor? Why the hell is Tremor? And where are we hiding if you ever want to use Tremor? And I'm pretty sure everyone will want to use Tremor after today. At least everyone that wants to use Tremor will want to use Tremor after this day. So quick, what the heck is Tremor? And Tremor is very simple. Because Tremor is a lot of things. We talked already about metrics, about logs, about events. But basically, Tremor is 3 things. 2 arrows and 1 cookie monster. Tremor is sources, so something where data comes from. Tremor is a cookie monster, so something that does something with cookies or events. And Tremor is sinks, which is something where data goes to. And that is pretty configurable. Quick idea about when we are saying source, what do we mean? We mean certain connectors, HTTP, Kafka, TCP, UDP, and a host of other ones, and some encodings. Some we support right now is JSON, YAML, message pack, just strings, just binary data, open telemetry since tomorrow. Since tomorrow? Is that a word? Can I say that? I don't know. I'll say it.
Yes, you can say it.
Good. Since tomorrow. Wonderful. So open telemetry since tomorrow. I like since tomorrow. I'll keep using that. Pipelines, which is once the data is in Tremor, what happens to it? We have a whole programming language called Tremor script, which you all have to suffer through later when poor Rawkode has to write it. And you can filter the data, you can transform the data, you can sanitize the data to give it a common theme and common look. And you can pretty much build all kind of logic in it that you want, like data in, data out, do stuff with it. Usually shown as a cookie monster in our presentations where we don't get sued for using that picture. I hope we don't get sued. I hope you don't get in trouble for this picture, by the way. If you do, I'm sorry. It's not our fault. It's your stream. It's your responsibility. Goodbye. Sinks is the other part, and this is kind of a mirror of the sources. We have, again, the connectors, HTTP, Kafka, TCP, UDP, and so on. There's a whole host of them. And they are on the website with documentation. I'm pretty sure we will go there at one point in the future today. And same as the codecs going in, we have them going out. So it could be JSON, YAML, message pack, strings, binary, or make up your own, really. So why all that stuff? Why all the work? First thing is at Wayfair there are thousands of engineers doing their thing. So there are a lot of metrics and stuff. So there are a lot of people. So there needs to be a good way to deal with all the small things. So that leads to a lot of data. We had last time we looked at the numbers about 10 billion. I suspect it's a bit more today. Events per minute or 3 billion a day, 3 trillion a day. which for everyone counting to a trillion a day is significantly much. To give a other shape than the silly numbers, it's about 10 terabyte or one hard disk if you buy a really big one, or 10 small ones.
Those numbers are about 2 years out of date, I think. So
they are 2 years out of
double
date.
them.
Yeah. So yes, you can multiply that with x, and you choose x to get a correct number, where x is somewhere between 0 and infinity. But it's a ballpark. It's probably not an order of magnitude off. And last but not least, there really wasn't something out there that solved the issue completely without having a lot of trade-offs. Because realistically, not everyone is at the scale, and most people are really happy with simple solutions that work for them, which makes perfect sense. And if you're not operating at tens of terabytes a day on data, there is no reason to invest the time, money, or effort into building something that can handle that. So yeah, that's the why. Last but not least, as promised, we won't take too much time with slides. Where are we hiding? I hope it's okay if I plug our stuff here. There's Tremor, the website. There is GitHub repository, which is also linked on the website. There's a doc site, which is also linked on the website. And we have a Discord server. You're all welcome to come by and say hi. There is a link for it.
It's probably also worth going in where Tremor started or why it started in detail. It wasn't really built with the current scripting or event processing or ETL in mind. It was built for a very simple problem when a network operations center is under capacity for volume. When we hit peak load, bad things happen, like our network operations center folk are seeing data that's delayed a minute or 2 minutes. And as you know, in a large production environment, if you're 2 minutes out of date, well, you're putting out the wrong fire. So Tremor was basically introduced to solve that problem and introduce a form of load shedding and capacity planning and management that worked in real time. So that went to production in 6 weeks, and we spent the past 2 years avoiding that problem and just having fun.
Yes, it worked well.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for the introduction there. So I guess I've got a couple of questions. I don't know if we covered this during previous conversations, but I know my previous life, I did a lot of things in the monitoring and observability space. In fact, I worked for Influx Data, if you're familiar with that company.
Yes.
This feels a lot like Telegraph. Is that a fair comparison?
It is a subset. Tremor can pretty much do what Telegraph does to the most part, but it is a generalized solution. You can do it on metrics, like aggregate stuff, sum them together, filter them, rewrite them, but you also can do it on logs. You also can do it on, well, pretty much everything else you want. You have a structured data in, structured data out approach with a language to modify the data in the middle.
So, for example, we're currently putting a system in production at work that is in the search domain. As Tremor doesn't really care about the underlying symbology or the underlying domain of Endeavor, pretty much anything that's semi-structured or self-structured in nature can be processed through the system. And we're now starting to get into binary data processing and workloads as well. So that keeps extending. So although logging and metrics or the observability domain was where we started building the engine, it's always generalizing and becoming kind of more useful. And that tends to kind of pull it into other domains and directions over time. Like I think the search solution is very orchestration, it's workflow oriented. So if you imagine you have a messaging system inbound and outbound, you're trying to index and elementize document style information, pump it into a bunch of downstream systems that are indexing for search, like to power recommendations and engines and things like this. There is no messaging system that gives you fully validated, authenticated, and cleansed data as a transactional messaging feed, because it doesn't do those complex orchestrations of multiple external systems. So Tremor is now being used for that use case. And that will likely move us down into the orchestration direction. Yeah. So very much logging and metrics was the start. Who knows where the rabbit hole goes looking forward.
We do support the influx line protocol as one of our codecs. So you can encode and decode influx data in Tremor.
Okay, cool. Very cool. All right, Kim, what are the typical deployment architectures for Tremor? Do I run one of them inside of a data center? Do I run them on every node? Do I get a little bit more creative with the per container? Like, how do you use it yourselves?
It depends a lot on your use case. As always, right? That is the blanket answer to every question. It depends on your use case. I'll leave out the clustering part for a moment because Anup can tell us a bit more about that in a second. I think he's working on that at the moment. But basically, today Tremor is either run as a sidecar in Kubernetes, or as a dedicated server for high load, massive pipeline situations where you have a number of servers and load balance over them.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that approach, and it's something I try to encourage people to do with Telegraph and other tools as well, is that you really get to dictate your own quality of service when you run the collection right next to your application, and then you can have very specific transformations and aggregations that happen at that layer. I think it's a really, really cool approach to doing that, so I'm excited for what Tremor can do. Something we've not mentioned, but I noticed on the website, is that Tremor is also a Cloud Native Foundation project. You want to...
Yes.
Is that recent, or did I miss the announcement?
September, I think.
September.
We were invited, joined. We're enjoined.
We're adjoined, I think is the term.
Adjoined, yes, as a CNCF sandbox project, which is super exciting for us.
Yeah, and definitely going against the grain there, not writing your cloud native application in Go. Oof.
Yeah,
there's only
we'll change the CNCF. Go is going out. It's literally going out.
Yeah, going, gone.
I think Tremor and maybe Linkerd.
I did not mean that.
I think Tremor and Linkerd are probably the only two that I'm familiar with that are leveraging Rust. Yeah, TIKV as well. That's right, definitely. That's cool. Okay, one more question, and let's just get hands on. I asked this of every project that's written in Rust yet, but have you compiled it for WASM and run it in a browser?
The answer is definitely not, because we use SIMD accelerated JSON parsing. So that is one of the secrets.
Quite a bit of work when you're doing SIMD accelerated JSON processing.
We don't even get it to run on ARM yet. So.
And is that because of the SIMD? Is that the same issue?
Yes, it's the same. So Rust on ARM has not yet caught up with Rust on x68. Most normal stuff you can run perfectly fine. I want to prefix it. It's not like Rust doesn't do ARM. But if you go into really low-level SIMD stuff, Rust doesn't yet fully support that. For example, you need to use nightly for compiling it. And that means that every other week, everything breaks, and it's just not worth the effort.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes me a good Rust developer or a terrible one, but I've never installed the nightly toolchain, and I just try to avoid it as much as possible.
Both. It makes you a terrible good Rust developer.
I'll take it.
It makes you a happy Rust developer with a stable environment to work in and take pleasure out of your coding.
Cool. Who feels comfortable describing SIMD? I can give my very naive understanding of it, but I believe the idea is that you have a single value in a register and you can perform multiple operations on it in a much efficient or effective process. Is that correct?
Matthias just gave a talk on that. literally on BobConf, 2 weeks ago?
Yes. For free. I don't count time anymore. It's,
yeah. Time is a constant.
Just a very quick, it's single instruction, multiple data. That's what SIMD stands for. So you have fat registers in your CPU, and you can put like a number of integers, floats, whatever inside there, or bytes, or like whatever primitive CPU data type you have, and then you can just run a fat instruction in the same time usually as you do on a single one. And like as a curious fact, all the Intel CPUs, they run their floating point operations on those registers. So you're already using them, but you're underusing them. So most compilers optimize very heavily and transform your normal code into like unrolled loops and stuff, and so you get to use SIMD, but in the SIMD JSON project, we explicitly use OSIMD unstructured. It's a like a whole new jungle of CPU instructions in those extensions. It's fun, but it's again a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, so I got that completely backwards then. Basically, my entire.
To be fair, yeah.
But that's cool because you know what the best thing I always say about doing this is that I get to have wicked smart people like you all come on and just teach me all of this stuff. So it's
well,
awesome.
that's the same for us. Like it's Cindy stuff. Credit goes to Lemire et al. He invented this. We just ported it. We basically we're in the business of stealing great ideas. But we give credit. We try.
Yeah, it's criminal, but in a good way.
Yeah, it's like Robin Hood.
Okay, we have a question from the audience, and then let's get hands-on with this and start playing with Tremor. So Jürgen is asking, could this be compared to FluentBit with regards to logs and events, and would it be a good match for integration with connecting with FluentBit? And then there's a quick follow-up, is like, or would it be a competing system? Does anyone want to touch on the comparisons to FluentBit?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot about FluentBit, but we can probably go into the question if we ignore the FluentBit bit. So is it good for normalization? That's literally exactly what it's used for in production. So the bread and butter use case in our logging and metrics environment, and it's starting to appear in other domains in production at work, is for the normalization for dimensionalizing real-time streaming data, and then based on the classification of that data and the dimensions to within which it was classified, to make decisions on whether to send that data downstream. So 99.999999999% of the time, Tremor forwards all of the data it receives downstream in production. Every now and again, when our systems go over capacity, or there's an issue in one of our data centers or in the cloud, we don't have the capacity that we normally have, or the systems are flooded for whatever reason, Tremor needs to throw away some information. And we try and throw away the least important data to the business at any given point in time. And that's a fairly simple algorithm to build and define inside Tremor. So what it typically does in the logging system, which is a fairly simple 3-tier architecture, on all of the source systems, so in our data centers, that's on the hosts that are running application logic, it might be picking up syslog information, it might be picking up data from journald or syscontrol or something like that, or syslog as a sidecar in the Kubernetes case, sends it to a transformation system where it normalizes it. For example, try and get 3,500 developers to agree on what they call their environment. Is it going to be env or environment in their data? Are they even going to agree on the data structures? No. So we have a team of 20 very dedicated folk in Boston who just normalize all of these data sets in production and have a fine-grained understanding of our capacity requirements from the operational infrastructure perspective, but also from the production business need perspective. And in an e-commerce environment, in a production environment, that changes by hour of the day of the week, and the season that we're in the year. So it's really, really good at this particular task. It's essentially what it was designed for. And it was also designed in an environment where it was designed to be transparent to the existing system and the surrounding architecture. So Tremor is an interposer. It's like a spy. Most of the developers at Wayfair don't even know it's there. Yet all of their messages, all of their logs, and all of their metrics pass through it. But they never need to see it. They don't need to touch it. When they go through Elasticsearch as a front end to a developer is being served in the back end through multiple layers of Tremor. Similar to our influx environments, Tremor is actually feeding our influx environments inside work rather than Telegraph. So Tremor takes on that role and effectively becomes Telegraph for the metrics environment, or becomes logstash for the logging environment. So it would probably work similarly to FluentBit, except it's really designed for that large scale, high throughput environment. We don't know the specifics of FluentBit. There are likely features in FluentBit that Tremor does not have, and it's likely a good fit wherever it's currently being used. So if you don't need Tremor, stick with FluentBit.
Yeah, There's one thing which is a big difference between Tremor and most systems, including FluentBit, is that we design Tremor as less a configurable system than a programmable system. We have a deployment language and we have a scripting language. Well, with systems like FluentD or Logstash, you usually have a very configuration and plugin driven system where you chain up your plugins. Well, in Tremor, you have a query language which lets you describe a graph and a programming language which lets you describe a logic, and they fold into each other. So you're not hopping between different languages, different systems, different logics. You don't write a plugin in Git in Go and then write a script in Lua. You have this one system that fits together. And operator friendliness was always a very, very important thing. So you will. Well, hopefully you won't see it, because if you see it, you make a typo and the system will tell you. But we have hygienic errors and all those kind of things, which we really are proud of. I think that is one of the biggest differences to other systems that do event processing.
All right, perfect. Okay, we spoke a lot. I think we need to play with it.
Well, speaking is always fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be, especially when I'm talking to you for, that's for sure. So
there's not going to be boredom.
We got a comment saying a sidecar on every pod we require to retrieve logs from. Yeah, that's my understanding. I think that's a really cool pattern. So I would recommend you check it out. And then I don't know if you know this person, but Rohit has said, "Hey, awesome to see the whole team." So there you go.
Hey.
Okay, let's play with Tremor.
Yes, and we have a treat. So we looked at some of your stuff, and they're all really interesting. But we figured we are doing something completely different. Everyone is expecting we are doing logs today, but we are not. So here's the idea. We happen
Did
to
you say
have
bot or bot?
Did you say bot? Can you read minds? So Tremor is event processing, so it can do very much, including Discord bots. And we happen to have a Discord bot written in Tremor. So the idea is, and it depends on how comfortable you are with it, either you invite the dev of this bot into your server and you play around with it there and can add some stuff. Perhaps let some of the users there figure out a feature that is worth adding, or we invite you to our development environment for that bot and you can go bananas there. The bot's not going to run on our systems, it's going to be run on yours. So whatever is more comfortable for you.
I like the idea of going bananas. I guess maybe we'll use your one and I'll run it on my side. Is that the preferred approach?
Whatever you like. We just didn't want it to like steal people from your server and be like, hey, if you want to play with a bot, come to the Tremor server. We also don't want to be, hey, install this bot on your server. So we let you pick which one you want.
Well, let's try it on yours, and if I like it, then maybe I'll install it.
Okay, let's. You're on our server, so I'll invite the Tremor dev bot to our server so people can play around there, and I will give you first the link to the code where you have the starting point. I'll send you to this. No, not to Matthias. Here you go. That is a starting point. And I will send you the secret key as well. Please don't share this key on YouTube. That's the one part that probably shouldn't be shared. And I'm going to invite.
But please share the URL. We might have multiple commits during the live, which would be hilarious and awesome.
Okay, and let's throw the nice little Tremor bot. So the Tremor bots, the limit on this is going to be it can only read and reply to messages. We don't give this one admin privileges because it's a playground system. Read, yeah, send, there we go. And yes, I'm a human, silly thing. Authorized. We have a Tremor bot. We have two Tremor bots now. There's Tremor bot and Tremor dev bot. We have a few ideas what kind of stuff you could add to that, but we want you also to just come up with your own. What you think would be a cool feature in a bot.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand where we are right now, because I'm already confused. So you have added a new bot to the Tremor Discord channel.
Yes.
I have the code for it in front of me now, which I'm now sharing my screen. I believe you're going to send me something secret, but I don't think you've done that yet.
I believe I did. There's a secret SSH hashy SSH.
Oh, right, got it. Okay.
Actually, that's like if you look at the setup part here, there is put your secret key in the file, because the bot needs to authenticate with the Discord API, and this is the secret key that authenticates it. For safety reasons, I will recycle this after today, obviously, but for today, you can play with that as much as you want.
Okay, let's get started then. So do I need to clone this repository?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that I am confident doing, mostly. So, git clone TremorBot. And we have here. Now, do I need to read the instructions, or are you just going to guide me?
You can read the instructions. Alternatively, I can read the instructions to you, or Darach, because he has this nice Irish accent.
So I guess you just want me to copy this example to .yaml and then make a little bit of a tweak.
Also, make init works by now. Because we are old, we like make files.
I mean, I like just files, but I guess I'll settle for a make file. So let's see what this source looks like.
Yeah.
This is where I need to do the secret thing, right? Okay.
Yes, it's like big letters. Please insert the secret stuff here.
Okay, let me grab that just now.
We should have like some elevator music while you're editing the file.
I keep meaning, like, do you know the Offspring? Are you fans of the Offspring? No? All right.
I don't know them, but I'm horrible with names. Someone else?
They're just a punk rock band, but on one of their earlier albums, they actually had an intermission halfway through the album, and it was just this little tune, and I keep wanting to use it on the stream, but then I know YouTube are going to ban me, so I actually looked into buying license rights to it, but apparently that's a major pain in the ass. So okay, I have edited this file, so what I'm not going to do is open it. What I will do is open it here, so we can just kind of see what this configuration looks like. So we just need to insert the token, which I've done. We've got some intents. This is just permissions against Discord.
Yeah.
And we just have some sort of internal reference to tell it which type of configuration this is.
This is
nice and simple, nothing magic. We can move on. Is that right?
We want to kill this eventually, so the YAML will go away. That's the one part that that is configuration, not language. That's on our to-do list, but for now, yes, it's YAML.
So is that a Tremor configuration?
Yes.
Okay.
That is part of it. That sets up you remember this source arrow and the cookie monster? This is a source arrow. It tells it where data comes from. It's also the sync arrow, because we need to talk back to Discord. But that is like, here is where data is happening. This is the connector to the outside.
2 years ago, Tremor had a lot of YAML and not a lot of programming language. Now it has a lot of programming language, and there's not a left of the YAML. The YAML will continue to disappear, because it provides a horrible developer and operational experience. And we've started to move towards much more structured programming, because you get a better class of error back to the user. For example, who likes an error from, say, a logging system implemented on the JVM that gives you 99 lines of stack trace for one, oh, you forgot a comma. You'd rather just, oh, you forgot a comma. Did you mean to add the comma? A comma would be nice here. And we call that hygienic errors. I think that's something about the Rust compiler and development experience that rubbed off on us.
Yeah.
And we Robin Hooded into the project, so to speak.
I'm pretty sure there are rules when you're a CNCF project that you're not allowed to say bad things about YAML. I'm just saying, you've got to be careful there. We
love YAML and other people's products.
Right. Okay. So let's make file. We ran it in it. We can see kind of what it's doing. Did I just run make run now? Is that all I need
and
to do?
Then it will start. Yes. Then you can.
Is it going to print anything to my terminal that we don't want to see?
Yeah, it will. Well, nothing important. It will just print a few things and be like, hey, oh, yes.
I have a local
remember?
Tremor.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is you're sending me secrets on Discord. I unzipped a binary from a random person on the internet and installed it to my machine. This is not a good example of how to computer, by the way. Just saying.
You could have used an environment variable.
And it's nice in the modern world. to see such trust in an individual.
Okay, I think it's running.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
no.
No. Ah.
We need to set the module path.
And we need to give you the modules. This is the wonderful thing about live demos. We have no idea what we are doing. Darach, or someone wants to explain it while I'll copy the files.
So Tremor is now building a growing library of reusable code, and it also has a set of links into built-in functions in the Tremor runtime in Rust that we provide as intrinsics, so they can be referenced in the interpreted code. Binary that Heinz sent you, we omitted all of that good stuff. I believe he's probably sending you one now.
I literally send it right now. So this is not a problem on Linux where we have packages or on the Docker image because that's included. We are not quite there on Linux on OS X.
Okay, so do I need to unzip this here? Do I need to unzip it somewhere else?
Here, just
Here's
unzip it here.
Okay.
And it's all Tremor files, so there's the viruses in there are all written in Tremor script.
So we want to now set a Tremor path in the environment. So Tremor path.
Makefile takes care of that. But yeah, generally yes.
Okay. Awesome.
There you go. Tremor's running.
Invalid authentication. Please check the token. Did I break it?
Shouldn't have. I would say let's look at the token, but also let's not look at the token.
Let's think about the token and guess what state it might be in.
Oh yes, because this is me being an idiot.
Okay.
I don't Discord often enough. I gave you the public key, not the secret key.
Well, nobody wants the public key.
Yes. Well, it was easier to copy. There's a big public key button, and I copied.
It was shorter, was the logic at the time.
It was actually longer, but I couldn't see the secret one. It was hidden because it's a secret.
Oh, it failed again.
It shouldn't. What is it saying? Invalid authentication. Was a good one?
Let me just
double check. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I think I copy and pasted that. Okay, my copying and pasting is not flawless, but it's decent. So.
Yeah, perhaps my copy and pasting is off. Oh yes. No, it's not. There are three different things.
Aha.
There is the secret thing, then there's a token, then there is the other secret.
Yeah, let's
thing.
try the secret thing.
Let's try the next secret thing. There are a lot of stuffs to copy. I probably should have read the README we wrote about how to get this data. Sometimes it helps.
Can you send me your date of birth, your mother's maiden name, and your first school, please, as well, while we're at it?
Actually, I'll just send you the configuration I tested it with.
Okay, it looks like it's working now anyway.
Yes.
We've injected the third secret. We've got what appears to be a working Tremor.
Secret, yes. A working secret.
Okay.
So on our Discord server, I already created something called bot fun, so we don't spam general. The way the Tremor bot works is if you want to look at the there's a file called plugins.yaml, I believe. No, it's called discord.yaml because obviously, and in there we have different plugins.
Hold on, because I used a temporary directory, and I need to get my split into it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one making his own life miserable.
Yes. Okay, what do we want to see here?
If you look into config, there's a 01 Discord YAML.
There's indeed.
So this is separated from the config because there are no secrets in here. And you remember the cookie monster in the image?
Yes.
The pipeline. There are multiple of those, since you are not limited to a single one. What we have is we have made each plugin a pipeline that are all connected here. So if you look, for example, at line 13 and following, which is mean that I say 13 because you have line numbers turned off. But I'm cheating. I have the file open with line numbers. You see we have the pipeline no bot in there, and the output of that, and we connect it to the input of the setup pipeline, the roles pipeline, the code of conduct pipeline, the inclusivity pipeline, the welcome pipeline, the jokes pipeline.
Yep, got it.
So those are all the plugins we have right now. And there is the most interesting one to look at is probably the inclusivity one. That is something we Robin Hooded from the CNCF Discord. Well, yeah, we are just stealing stuff from all around.
Isn't that the CNCF Slack?
Yeah, the Slack.
Yes, the CNCF Slack. So something we really liked is if someone said, "Hey guys," it was like, "Well, do you mean something else, perhaps?" And we wanted that on the Discord server. So we have a plugin for that does exactly that.
Okay, so how do we do something with this Discord bot? Right now, I'm assuming this Tremor bot is using Tremor, and is it listening to Discord right now? So if we start to type things, is it going to come into our pipeline and allow us to transform?
Would you believe there are literally people trying to interact with your bot right now as you make
the
changes?
demo guys are absolutely horrible to us. Why the hell, I guess that's not swearing in the bad way, is it not working in the bot fun channel?
Oh no!
Nobody knows.
Maybe
we can fix it during the live session.
Yes, we can fix it during the live session. Also, we can just use general, and there at least Tremor bot replies, which is a good start.
Okay, so if we type "Hey guys," Tremor bot is going to learn how to type. I bet it doesn't work with it.
We should teach Tremor bot Scottish, and maybe Darach as well. Because why not?
All right, yep. Troops. No.
Okay, let's throw this guy in. There's the Tremor dev bot.
Oh, is he in bot fun now?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
That's you. This is your bot.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. I get it. So this is all powered with Tremor.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of that is and you can look at the code for that to get an idea how to do something like that.
And is that what's inside of the lib directory?
So that is inside the config and the lib directory. There's config plugins, which has the pipelines, and the lib directory is additional helper functions, basically.
Okay, so let's look at this. What is it? .trickle?
Yeah.
Well, our naming sort of has a joke running through it. So because it's Tremor,
everything is
all the languages that we have will begin with T. So trickle is Cole Trickle from the Days of Thunder movie, because he feels the need for speed. The query language is all about processing speed. So it's sort of a meta joke beginning with T.
So is the language called Trickle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, got it. Perfect. So this...
if you think about it, it makes sense. Most query languages in this space for real time are filtering. So they're dropping a lot of data on the floor. So you're taking a fire hose and you're sending a trickle downstream.
Okay, got it. So let's see if we can work this out. Let's see how intuitive this language is.
I'll let you go over this before we explain it.
Thanks. Okay, so we've got our select. So right away I'm thinking this is the stream processing function. I'm assuming this is a pattern match on a field called message. And we're trying to extract channel ID. And then I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, this is the response. Okay, so yeah, we've got a select on a message with a channel ID. And then we send in a response to the original ID, the content saying, hey. And we've got some sort of interpolation syntax here to inject things in. And then we've got the from. So the from is, okay, this is where the actual match is happening, and we're looking for where the content contains the word guys. Interesting use of stars here, I guess.
It's a blob.
Yeah. And then the default is to do nothing. Easy. I think I understood that relatively well. Tell me what I got wrong.
Yeah, you got it. So it's sort of like a SQL language. So Tremor is the inverse of a database. In a database, you store the data and you run ad hoc queries. In an event processing system, you optimize the query and you throw ad hoc data through it. So this is SQL-like, but it's not ANSI compliant SQL because it's 2021. Who uses columnar data in modern systems? Most people are using structured data like JSON. So we just threw away the columns and tables, and we're getting with the old structured program. So we have nested data structures, and it maps the business domain events much more closely. So it makes it more intuitive.
Nice. Okay, let's take a look at one more of these, and then we'll maybe see if we can modify the behavior in some way. Which one of these is your favorite?
Welcome is fairly easy. Jokes is absolutely stupid, and roles is really complex.
Okay, so I guess we'll just look at them all then. So we've got a select here, same again. We've got a send message. This syntax here, are we trying to? Oh, okay. So we're looking for some sort of event type where the member addition is true. Okay, got it. Okay, I'm curious. This is just running straight up Tremor, right? Is there a flag that I can see the events coming in? Can I print them to standard out so I can see what we're doing?
You absolutely can. That is a pipeline. If you look at the config where the 01 Discord one.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll just modify that, and we'll add one of the built-in pipelines will allow you to redirect the standard output, or one of the built-in connectors. So we'll just configure that, and you'll see the events streaming.
Because I imagine if I want to start adopting Tremor in my infrastructure for, I think a simple use case upfront is going to be logs and metrics for most people. I probably want to know what the messages coming in from the sources look like before I start to do the transformations. So
yes, we actually have thought about that. Line 9. You see there's this debugging in the pipeline path through, which is a standard pipeline that always exists, which just passes through data. And that means everything that comes in, we just pass on there. And in line 11 and 12, we pass this data to standard out.
So by uncommenting it, you've just implemented that.
Yeah.
So is it going to do a config reload?
It doesn't auto reload. No, you got to restart it.
All right.
And now it's a nice feature. Please raise an enhancement request.
Yeah, if I can send a sync up to it, I'm quite a happy person. So let's get some blank lines in here. Let's someone's already typing. I'll just wait. Oh, there we go. Cool. So we can see coming in here, we've got the ID, we've got attachments, we've got the author avatar. There's that channel ID that we were plucking out, and the trickle script. We've got the content. I guess we're not going to be able to see a member addition. That's probably going to be a little bit more difficult to trigger on the live stream, but
yes, someone will have to join. Well, we just got to need to make people join the Tremor server if they want to see it in here.
Okay, I'm getting it. It's starting to make sense to me now. Now it seems like
look, I got Snot Badger onto a live.
Yes, on the stream. Yes.
So is it fair to say that this 01 config is this the most important part of this configuration? This is where I would
it's
find
a plumbing, effectively. And this is where we haven't yet gotten rid of the YAML. And this makes it a bit hard to read. There is a RFC on our RFC sites about implementing Troy. Anup? That was the name, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, Troy.
Yes.
Troy, which hopefully will replace the lovely YAML with something not as readable and helpful for developers, but closer to the other language.
Okay, I'm not familiar with Troy. I have no idea what that
Neither
is.
are we. It doesn't exist yet.
Tremor deploy. So it's the Tremor deployment language. One of the limitations with YAML is that we don't have the kind of tooling we would like to give the kind of hygienic errors that we would like. Through it as an interface, it becomes cumbersome to describe. And with a language that understands a lot of the primitives in the scripting language, we could reuse a lot of that logic and make it a lot more flexible. So for someone who already knows the scripting and query language, it would be more intuitive not to have to jump into a format like YAML and to just use the tools they have and build on top of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
I'm
And
really glad I never lied and just said, yeah, Troy, I'm familiar with that. It's a really cool project. And then awkward.
That would be cool. Then you can help us implement it if you know it already. You're a step ahead of us. Awesome.
Exactly. I'll come and comment on RRC for sure. Was someone else going to talk there? Sorry, I'm sure I heard another voice.
Oh yeah, so I was just gonna comment. The Tremor CLI actually has a facility to run your little scripts like on its own too. So you don't really have to start the whole thing like how you did for the Discord case. So you can actually test like individual logic by itself, and that's actually a really killer feature. So that allows us to like test logic in isolation, and you can also actually do like kind of like unit testing around it. Or the Tremor CLI has a test feature. You can also write like full-blown like integration tests too. So the production logic that you have running in your like servers, you can actually like validate beforehand, and you can iterate on it really fast. So that's like there was a huge advantage. That's a huge advantage compared to the solutions that Tremor was replacing at Wafer. Things like logstash really don't allow you to do that that well. So that's why like Tremor really shone for us, and it's like invaluable. But yeah.
Okay,
There's lots of tools in that Tremor command line. You can, it's got 5 benchmarking or 5 testing systems, including the benchmark environment we use. So you can literally write a directory, fill it full of integration tests, unit tests, benchmarks, share them with us, and we can run them. So that makes it easy to communicate failures and communicate odd behaviors. Everything through to, if you want to debug what the interpreter inside Tremor sees, there's a whole heap of debugging tools that give you syntax highlighted lexical forms, the tree, the syntax tree that Tremor generates, all syntax highlighted, including syntax highlighted source on the command line. So you don't even have to spin up an IDE if you don't want to.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understood that correctly. What we're saying with the Tremor CLI is actually I can have maybe, a day, a week, a month, whatever, of JSON or CSV data or something that then I can run against to test that my tricking scripts are doing what I actually expect them to do. Now, is that something where Tremor provides some sort of assertion framework, or would I bring in something like conf test on top of that to do it?
So yes, if you have a look at the integration tests in the Tremor runtime repo, in Tremor CLI, you'll see a tests folder. In the tests folder, you'll see a number of different frameworks. We do everything from verifying our API works with curl through to running integration tests where Tremor is running Docker, which is running Elastic, or Tremor is running Tremor. So you can have multiple Tremors running an integration test, and it does expect style assertions on that. So you're in, you want to go to Tremor CLI tests rather than the built-in tests. They're more like unit tests.
They are Rust tests.
So Tremor CLI tests.
Okay.
Pick one, doesn't matter. So we have a unit testing framework in the scripting language that is like JUnit or any of the other unit style testing frameworks. So that works in Tremor script. So with the standard library, you can look at the standard library tests. There's only about 900 of them, so it's a long file.
Well, this is quite short, unless I'm in the wrong file.
You want to be the other file.
It's also a good
one
file.
Quite long. Where's the long file?
Easier. It's easier to read the short file.
Okay, so what I can see here is we define some sort of test suite. We give it a name. The suite itself has multiple tests. That makes sense. I like the fact there's tagging here. That tells me that I could probably run a subset of my tests across multiple files or multiple suites, which I'm always excited by. It's the simple things that keep me happy. And then this individual test itself, which has also got a name, and then we have a test assertion that the host name is my system's host name. Okay, I think that makes sense. Is Tremor doing any sort of enrichment in those messages as they come into my system?
Yes, but only slightly. I think it does, well, it adds a few things. It adds a timestamp when the message arrived. We also use that timestamp for sneaky stuff like random number generators to guarantee determinism. So if you would replay the same data with the same timestamps, you get the same randomness, which is really powerful if you want to test your system and figure out why the hell did this message not arrive if I configure 50% drop rate. Because, well, if you replay it with the same timestamps, off you go, you get the same results. Then it adds some metadata depending on where the data comes from. For example, if it's a HTTP request, you get the headers, you get the HTTP, the other side, the client information and all that. So there is some enrichment happening, and that is usually happening in the metadata. So if you look at an event, there's the event data, and the metadata, which is then the data that tells you something about the event, but isn't the event, if that makes sense.
A little bit.
So in the scripting language, we didn't see it in the scripts that we were using, but if you use the $sign in the scripting or query language, that means you're referencing meta information.
Okay.
That can be generated by the connectors into the system. So like Discord might generate some meta information. And some of the plugins to the query language might actually also generate or consume metadata to perform their particular functions. So it's Tremor also has another form of metadata that isn't exposed in the languages that it uses for things like acknowledgements, guaranteed delivery, circuit breakers that are running invisible to the user, unless you're using an operator designed for the user to interact with those subsystems.
Okay, so let's assuming I'm running Tremor on a bunch of Linux machines on Equinix Metal. Equinix Metal has a metadata service where I can fetch some information from. Is that something that I would do before I run Tremor and populate a config file with key value pairs or something? Is that something I would write a plugin for Tremor for to scrape, or like how would I interact with this?
That's a great question. You would write that in Tremor, deploy it with Tremor, and you could do that live. I mean, you could literally have a stream of changes coming through, or poll the metadata system periodically using the metronome, or we have a cron operator called chrononome. So once per day, you could download new metadata, or every 10 seconds. I mean, you can literally configure this or code this depending on how you view the scripting language as you like.
Okay, can we clarify the difference?
Put it in a config file and load it. That's okay too.
So can we clarify the difference? Is there a Tremor language and a trickle language? Are those different things?
Yes and no. So the trickle language is a superset of the Tremor language. So there is a scripting language, and you can embed the scripts inside the query language. So then you will have the Troy language, which you can embed the query language in. It's turtles all the way down, just with silly T-based names. Yes, turtles. They start with T. Damn it.
We need a higher level language called turtle now.
It's turtles all the way down. So
that would make it a Trojan turtle.
Yeah. The lowest level is Tremor script, the scripting language. That gets wrapped by the query language, which lets you describe graphs. Eventually, this gets wrapped.
This makes a lot of sense. Troy. There are a lot of programming languages that have attempted to build low-code or no-code flow-based languages. And the problem is when the logic gets very, very complicated, it's very difficult to write imperative or procedural logic in flow languages. Just like it's almost impossible to write flow-based logic in imperative languages. Like, look at callback hell in anything from Node.js to the modern JVM. Callback hell is indicative of this is a flow-oriented environment or system. You're trying to describe a stream of connected things in something not designed around those structural concerns that are flow-oriented. And you get exactly the same with business logic or mathematical logic. It doesn't want to be represented as a graph. It wants to be represented in something textual and something more familiar. So we've just made the choice of let's use the query language that's flow structured for flow-oriented things, and let's plug in something a lot more relevant to the business logic for what people want to do with that data as it's flowing through. And today, that is a very ETL-oriented language designed around slicing and dicing and processing business-like nested data JSON, which is 99% of the world's
JSON-esque.
business.
Okay, I'm going to throw something out there. I don't know if this deviates too far from your plan of what we were going to
Go ahead,
show off
throw
today.
stuff out.
But we're in a position right now where we have an application. Well, we did until I think maybe I killed. Yeah,
Until
I
you
control-C
stopped it.
Yeah, so we can run Tremor, but we can add new sources to this, right?
Yeah.
And those can interact with the other parts of the pipeline that already exist right now, which is the ability to write to your Discord channel. Now, I can imagine a world where I'd want to be able to be, maybe I want to monitor the CPU and memory on my machine, and if it reaches a certain threshold, send a message to a Discord channel. Is that something we can throw together now, or is that something that... Yes.
As long as you have... is Telegraph the collector? I believe yes, isn't it?
It is the collector, yeah.
So you can hook up Telegraph to Tremor to Discord. No problems.
Well, what about if we keep it really simple? Can we monitor a file with Tremor, and if I just echo something into the end of that file, can it just relay it onto...
Tremor does not tail files. You could use UDP, WebSockets, or TCP for that.
Okay.
Netcat.
So I can run Telegraph to monitor that file and write it to a UDP socket, and then we can have...
Or Vector. Well, or you can just use
Vector,
Netcat. Yes.
Or yeah, we could just use Netcat. Let's try and keep it simple. Let's not bring in too many tools. So... how do we do that? How do we expose Tremor to something on my machine that I can send arbitrary messages to your Discord channel?
Well, the first thing would be adding a source.
Let's add a source. Okay.
Let's add a source.
Why do we add Blaster and just configure it to send /etc passwords through to Discord?
How about not?
Okay, so
Also,
how do I
that's
do
what
this?
it's for. Well, let's look at the documentation. So we'll plug our
We don't need
documentation.
docs. Come on, I've got.
Well, I can't ever remember what I'm doing. Literally, I can't remember what I'm doing. I'm always looking at the documentation. And if you go there into artifacts and then on ramps, you can see what sources Tremor can get data from.
Okay, so we've identified some vocabulary there that I wasn't particularly familiar with. I did see it in the config, but I just ignored it for now. So on-ramps are our sources and off-ramps are outputs.
Yes, sinks, which is our fault that we haven't gone through renaming them all to sources and sinks. But basically, yes, on, it goes there, off, it goes out.
Okay, so I see a file on-ramp here. Can we not just use that?
Well, we'll only read a file once.
Got it. Okay.
So the story behind this is tailing a file is actually a really complicated thing, right? It is. It sounds easy, but it isn't. And they're the great folks over at, well, now it is, where are they now?
Datadog.
Datadog, right, yes.
Rust project called Vector. It's really good at log tailing, and we don't like spending our time doing log tailing, so we just recommend, hey, folk, use Vector. It's awesome.
It connects to Tremor.
Okay,
and we use it as a sidecar whenever we need to do log tailing. We just use that other project. It's really good at it, so,
Okay, well, I mean, I'm happy just to click Control-C and run Tremor again after modifying this file, because I just want to show a wee demo of this, as like actually adding a new source and then having it work with one of the sinks.
I think the easiest way is, do you ever use WebSocket?
I've used Socket before, yes.
Well, yeah, UDP, the simple UDP on-ramp, which just uses this as a message.
Okay, so let's click on UDP. I'm going to just grab this config here.
Yeah.
And we're going to drop that in to our config 01 Discord. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was said with some degree of confidence. So.
Because there is the secret file, and I wanted to make sure you don't open it.
So this is going to run a UDP server on localhost port 9000, of which I can send JSON to, and it'll do something with it.
Nearly.
You probably want to use the Lines preprocessor.
What you did is put it under binding, but it is an on-ramp, and we are sadly in YAML, and in the wonderful world of YAML, where you got to put it under the on-ramp top-level thing.
Just create a section.
The section with on-ramps, that's why I hesitated, is in this hidden file, but you can define one here as well.
All right. Okay. So can I just do on-ramps?
Yep,
Yeah.
you can.
Okay.
Singular.
It's on RAM.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. So
You
now,
also could have been really lazy and copied it from the example completely because it's already in there.
okay. So I can save
Okay.
this now, and that gives us a UDP socket. We can send a message.
You haven't looked at hooked it up to anything yet.
That's a good point. Okay. So I guess this is what the bindings are. Do we have to bind
Yeah.
something from our
Yeah.
on-ramps to our from our sources to our sinks? Okay.
Yeah.
So is that just a case of saying ID, and I'll just say Rawkode? I'm assuming that's arbitrary. We want to create a link. I'm just going to keep making this up until someone tells me I need to do something else. So.
Well, you're now connecting the Discord on-ramp, not the UDP one.
Okay, so I need to use the ID from above, which I called UDP. Okay. Is that arbitrary as well, or is that actually connected to the? Oh, the type is the source.
That's connected to the ID that you're.
Yeah, you could
Send it
call
from-
it snot badger if you wanted to.
Okay, so now that we've got this out link, we tell it which inputs to forward on. Is that right?
Which to which input to forward it? Yes, which the pass-through one is the simplest one.
Okay, let me just copy that so I don't mess that up.
Exactly. Be lazy and just copy the debugging one.
Is that it?
Nearly.
Nearly?
The
What?
last part is the mapping at the very bottom. Since you made a new binding, you have to tell Tremor to load it.
Okay, so binding UDP
You call it Rawkode.
Rawkode.
No, Rawkode on the you call the binding Rawkode. When you put ID in the binding, Rawkode /01.
I want to see what I did there. Oh yeah, okay. So this is this binding here. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, so binding Rawkode 01, and is that just? I don't know what this last bit is.
Yeah, that works.
That'll work.
And now you should see UDP messages going there to your standard out.
So I can just do a make run, and it's not going to blow up, right?
Well, we'll see. No, it didn't.
Okay, so now we have.
I don't trust live coding anymore after the start today. It didn't.
Okay, so I wonder if we could.
Didn't
Can I
hook it
just?
up to an off ramp?
Yeah, I think it just went to the pipeline only, right? So far.
It went to the
Once it
bug
in,
pipeline already.
connected.
Oh,
That's
okay.
connected.
Oh, it's a
That's
different binding. It's a different binding, so it will not.
Oh well, this now I'm learning something that works.
Bash provides a virtual networking stack, and I can't.
9,000?
I don't know if this will. Is that the right port number?
It's
Isn't it
9,000.
9,000?
Yeah.
Just 9,000.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's not quite right. Definitely
Oh,
something like this. Oh, I'm not running Bash.
That could be a reason.
Yeah, I used to use this all the time, but there's like a virtual networking stack, and I'm sure I'm going to get it slightly wrong and need to Google it. But it's something like this. Oh, it didn't work. All right.
You could use Netcat.
I know, but now I feel I need to teach you this thing.
Okay, that's fair. Then we have learned something.
We're going to have to upgrade the bash from ZSH.
Bash.
I'm not going back to Bash. I'm sorry. I like ZSH too much.
But it's an upgrade. It's UDP capable with virtual UDP. What's not to like?
So I used to use this in my health checks in my Docker containers. Dev TCP, that must be it. Dev TCP.
I'm 50% of all the Solaris users. I want no Bash. I want all my scripts to be good old shell.
There, I was close. It's not net, it's just dev UDP. So that should have sent a watt to that UDP channel.
Well, yes, but you told it it's JSON.
No, string is
It's JSON. It's a JSON string. Oh, it needs
It's not like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if that works. Didn't.
Okay, so maybe that's just my crappy bash trick. So why don't we just try it your way?
No.
Well, then it's my fault suddenly. It would be netcat minus u localhost 9000, and then you can write.
Oh, NC dash U. That. Nope. Maybe it's space. Okay. So now I just need a JSON payload.
No, it wasn't your UDP one. Damn
Okay,
it.
so there's something wrong
Let's
with
check what
our...
it's connected to, because it sent it
Yeah.
to pass-through in.
Yes.
Let's see what pass-through in is connected to in the Discord YAML.
Okay, so let me just drop out of that, pop open the Discord YAML. So we've
So
got
if we
our...
look at the binding, we've got on-ramp UDP, out is system pass-through in. What's pass-through in connected to in our links?
It's in Discord. It's connected to standard out.
No, it's a different one because it's a should be a different one, right?
No, it should be the
They're
same.
all going to be 0,
Binding.
1. They're all mapped to 0, 1
Yep.
for I.
Okay.
So where is in? Sorry, out. Pipeline system pass-through out is connected to off-ramp standard out in. So
That
that's
makes
not what we
pretty much.
wanted. We wanted it to go out of Discord. So we want to connect it to the Discord off-ramp.
Well, we wanted to first go out to standard out to just test.
Okay, let's do that then. So that should already print on standard out.
It should, yes, which is annoying that it doesn't. I hate it when it doesn't.
Lines
so
preprocessor maybe, and throw in /n. Doesn't Echo put a /n at the end of it?
could be.
So use the lines preprocessor. It's probably just buffered in UDP, going, hey, I don't know what to send it yet. Is it finished?
Okay, so what do we
I
want
think
to
we
try?
need the lines preprocessor. I could be wrong.
Could be wrong. Well, on-ramp UDP is perfectly fine. Links is on-ramp UDP. Yeah. But preprocessor it's a good idea.
So in your UDP configuration,
Yep.
at the same level as config, or just below codecs, preprocessors, return, list, or dash, sorry, dash as in a list item, and lines. Yeah. So give that a whirl.
Okay, I'm going to try my bash trick again then. Nope, let's try the netcat one.
Well, the bash trick wasn't JSON.
Oh yeah.
We could make the codec a string if that doesn't work.
Codec string is a safe one, yeah.
Do we need to specify like the route the pipeline to the off-ramp explicitly in the binding, because it's part of different binding, right?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I think that's why it's not working. If we had made it, if we had reused it on an existing binding, then it would have worked. But since this is a new binding called Rawkode, the pass-through pipeline isn't connected to anything in that binding. So I think we need to like explicitly copy the off-ramp part from the second phase to the first phase. So maybe that will work. Worth trying.
Yeah.
I hope that made sense, Rawkode. But yeah, I can guide you.
And this is why we want to get rid of this YAML.
Okay.
Yes.
What do we have to copy into where?
So copy the pass-through out
So scroll down.
to Discord from the Discord binding into the Rawkode binding, so that you have a full copy of the flow that you want in Rawkode. Think of Rawkode as a separate application. Not quite a one-to-one mapping, but for live coding, that'll do.
Okay, so
So
we want to copy the pass-through from here.
Yeah, so copy the the below one, the out. So the output from the pass-through pipeline, we want to pass in
To
the off-ramp
Yeah.
for standard out. So this line we want to copy and add to Rawkode.
Okay, so those two lines, right?
Yeah, I think it's one line.
The lines.
Or is it
It's
one or two? Who knows? Could be
It
one.
should
could
be two lines if there's no wrapping set up.
Like that?
Yes.
Yep.
Like that.
Yeah.
Still don't know if it's one or two lines, but that works.
I should have changed the codec to string as well, but oh well.
Oh, one thing at a time.
That's string son, not JSON.
Yeah, so I don't think
Missing
that
a
did
colon.
anything either. I think I've broken it.
Missing a colon between name and value.
You know what? I'm changing this config. Right. Okay. So you're telling me I can just string as a codec and it doesn't care what I pass through. Is that right?
Exactly.
String will just do everything you want.
Let's remove as much things that can go wrong in my typing as possible. So, hello. Oh no.
And that didn't work.
That is
That's
surprising.
odd. Yeah.
So we have a UDP on RAM. And I mean, although, should we set it? Because if it's UDP, we're not actually going to know if it fails because there's no response. Should we use TCP instead?
I think
Yeah, give it a shot.
Give it a shot. And you can keep it named UDP. It won't, if you change the IP, you don't need to change the IP.
Okay.
It'll be confusing later when you've forgotten why you did
Yes.
Okay.
it. So there's some buffering or something.
But now I need to know if this works. So. Yes. See, there.
So now we can change it back to JSON if you like. Or we can configure it and send it out to Discord.
I think it is configured to go to Discord, is it not?
It's
Well, you don't-
configured to go to system out. You may need to copy that as well.
Okay, so let's add our final mapping here, just to
Or we could just move the
standard out one.
Our TCP UDP the second line and links to our Discord and get rid of the binding and the mapping. Move it all into the same Discord binding. Keep it simple. Get rid of the other lines.
Yeah.
Because we just need the UDP. And that will union into the pass-through.
So can I just do that and remove this?
That removes
Yes.
the rest of the bot functionality. You can do that.
But that will
That's
write this to
also-
Discord, right?
Discord will tell you this is not a message I understand unless you give it the correct format,
Structure it needs.
which is where all the selects are in.
Okay.
But we
So
can
because
just
it's-
copy one of those and we can make one and just add another pipeline.
Okay, I'll let you guide me. What do we do to make this work?
Let's create a pipeline, and just give it a random name. Just pick a name you want for your pipeline.
Okay, and that's the stuff that's in the lib directory, is that right? No.
That's in the plugins directory.
Config plugin.
Yeah, call it the Rawkode plugin.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to go to config plugin. We're going to copy the simplest one was the welcome, wasn't it?
It's the welcome, yes.
Okay, and we'll call this rawcode.trickle. Okay, so now we can do a select. Now, we're not reading
But we'll
messages
set
from
the-
Discord, so this is going to be different, right?
And no, so this part of the select creates the message that's outgoing. It's like okay, think about select. If you select host name from table, then what is between select and from is the data that goes out.
Yeah, so just get rid of the content value and replace it with event, which represents what you've passed in and what is sent through TCP. So hello is what you typed the last time. So that would be the string.
What was the
Small e
syntax?
for event, and it's hash rather than dollar for interpolation. There you go. A small e.
There. I'm happy.
So if you put a small e for event, it's case sensitive with the variables. There we go. Perfect.
One last thing, the channel ID, since that isn't the welcome channel, and this is Discord specific, that would be that number.
Yes.
Did you send
Because
that
we
to me on
don't want to
Discord?
send it. Yes, I sent it over Discord. You don't want that all to go to the welcome channel. That's where we have the bot spam channel.
Yeah, I just have to move that to the other screen so that we don't flash that
God damn
secret.
you, screens. The secret.
Okay. So let's get back. So I copied that ID, and then like so.
Number, not string. Just the number.
Got it.
I believe. I believe to believe.
We'll find out.
We'll find out in a second.
Okay, so now we've got our
I'm pretty
match here, and I guess the. Well, what do we have to
No,
change
we don't
here?
care about that. We're just true.
Just remove the whole where.
Just remove the whole thing. Because we don't care. Yeah, bang it on, send it on. Everything is fine.
This will actually
No
not work
problems
because
here.
event isn't true.
This,
Just kill the whole line, make it default true.
Got it.
This is the most powerful mesh statement ever.
Yeah,
Is that all we need in our trickle?
Yeah.
that's it.
I believe it is.
That's an entire program right there.
Okay, so now how do we connect this to Rawkode.trickle from our config?
So if the way the bot works, it loads all the plugins.
So you now have a
And what
plugin called Rawkode, effectively.
Yeah. You don't
So
need to put it in
pipeline
there.
Rawkode will be your plugin. So you just make a new line and you connect the output of
Basically,
So
instead
in
of
the
system, standard out.
first link.
Sorry,
You can
instead of
send it to
pass.
standard out and add a new list element that sends it to /pipeline/Rawkode /in as well as standard out. So you'll see it on the console and you'll also get it sent. So on line number 1 up from where you are, because
In
there's
this
no line
list.
numbers. If you go to the end of this line and make a new list entry,
Yep.
so quote /pipeline, because it's a pipeline or flow, /Rawkode, because it's Rawkode.trickle, it takes the file name base and it uses that. And / because it's this instance, you're going to go squiggly. And /in because it's going to the standard input stream on that file. So we didn't cover a lot of the details. You can configure your own streams and stuff, but this will work.
Yeah. So
This
it
is all
takes
you
a
need.
day. Well, we also need to put the output somewhere.
We need the output.
Yeah.
It'll almost work.
On
Now we need to do something
below
with
the
output.
line. No, this would be the UDP output. So you change the UDP output to go to Discord out, but that should go to the system pipeline pass-through out. No, line numbers. Line number +1. Yes.
What's the
I
option?
like
again?
incremental line numbers.
NU.
They're good.
How do I turn
Set
on
NU.
NU? That's what it is. There we go.
Yeah. And then after line number 18, now we have the Rawkode pipeline, and we have /pipeline Rawkode I out. So we connect the outside of that.
So that's the result of your select statement, which is your message event into Discord.
Okay, so /pipeline /Rawkode.
/squiggly I squiggly /out. Squiggly I squiggly, that'd be a good pirate name.
Oh,
Yarr.
yes, squiggly I, squiggly.
Squiggly I squiggly.
And we connect that to the, and now it gets confusing. On-ramp, Discord, I squiggly I out. So we loop back effectively.
Okay, that's actually making much more sense to me now that we've walked through this. So that's good.
Just needs to be a list.
It's
So-
easier to type when you're not trying to say it at the same time across the
Yeah.
internet.
Yes.
All right, I'm confident. No, I'm not. I'm in the wrong direction. There you go.
Okay.
Discord stand message to large.
Yeah, because it's trying to send, I think, this message as, because we connected it to the standard.
Oh, you could the pass. Yes, it
System
will.
pass-through.
Did we make an infinite loop?
Nearly. I think if you UDP to it, you should see it.
Awesome.
TCP to it. Sorry.
SOCAT into that port. Let's have some fun.
Nice.
Ta-da!
Well, we are
Yes.
getting some stuff.
The
Well, that's not what
we are
we
getting.
intended.
Well, we are
Oh,
getting the
that's an infinite
output
loop.
from the debug.
That's
You have the
awesome.
debug still enabled, so it sends all the debug messages to Discord. Since I'm not sure there's something sensitive in there, I will delete this.
Yeah,
now.
please do. So if I
but
just
I
take
leave
off the standard out, this one, right?
If you just
Yeah.
go to line +3, and instead of connecting 17, instead of connecting this
Yeah.
to pass through, just connect that to your Rawkode pipeline. without the system. System notates a pipeline that is always there. You don't have to define the pass-through pipeline because it always exists. 2 : less. Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
And there you go.
Yeah. I didn't even notice when we typed in system : Rawkode. I go, when did we add that? Rawkode. Submodule to the standard system.
Still some stuff there.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm fine if you just delete that. We did what I wanted to see, and I'm very chuffed with that. So I love that. So we have the ability with Tremor to add our sources and basically build all of these workflows or pipelines up that allows us to move those messages about, to filtering on them, and loads of other stuff. That I think is very, very cool.
If you would look at the script, the Rawkode pipeline you wrote, this could be, if it were like influx data, you could say if CPU usage is over 15%, send the message, oh my God, it's burning.
Yeah.
So you could use this for alerting into Discord or Slack or whatever.
Yeah, and we're just doing that in this match statement down here. Like we can have the different
just
cases.
Set an alarm if it goes over a certain value, and if you've seen this alarm trigger before, don't alarm continuously. Only alarm once for the given condition. So there is a state mechanism in Tremor, so you could cache this in the state mechanism, and if the alarm is set, don't re-trigger the alarm if it's already going off. It's annoying. And then when it's recovered at some point later, maybe send it again. Tremor is quite flexible in terms of its mechanism. There's Heinz added a mechanism recently that provides a key value storage as essentially sources and sinks. So you can store persistent key value information now. Just make it available like it's a service into that logic. Makes it really easy to build stateful apps just by programming little select statements.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Awesome. So we're pretty much approaching an hour and a half now, which is our allocated time. Is there anything that we haven't shown that you wanted to show before we finish up today?
I think it's actually pretty nice what we have shown, other than the stuff that didn't work.
Everything works. What are you talking about?
Yes, everything worked. It worked perfectly. I mean, the messages are all gone. Other than Rawkode says, help me. That's still there.
Okay, so can we just touch on one thing if you've all got a few more minutes before we finish? We mentioned at the start something that really piqued my interest, and we talked about clustering. Can we cover how that works, what the status of that is, and what's coming maybe?
I think that is a new topic.
The stage is yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So far, like as you can see, so you can run like Tremor on your individual host, and you can imagine like having different Tremor nodes running on different hosts, right? And with something like Kafka, you can kind of try to have like a clustered kind of scenario. But yeah, we have noticed that for operational needs at Wayfair, it would be really nice if we could deploy these kind of pipelines in a true like distributed system. So imagine like nodes, Tremor nodes going down, and then your pipeline like recovering automatically, like the workload is migrated to some other existing node transparently by the cluster, and the operator doesn't have to intervene. So it's not just the pipeline resiliency. So there are like certain logic that you write as part of your like clustered application. So think about like when you need to throttle like incoming logs or like metrics over like a set of nodes, and then you have to really know like how many set of nodes are involved to evenly throttle among all the nodes. So things like that we hope to provide by introducing a true clustered system in Tremor. So we are using Raft as the consensus mechanism for the backbone of the cluster, and the actual like workload for the Tremor nodes, the pipeline stuff that we have been playing around, they'll actually live outside of the Raft context. We call them like worker nodes, and they will be like hosting all the processing logic. And whenever a node goes down or off, ultimately we want to reach to that ideal state of the cluster being like auto healing, and ultimately those kind of things will also help like auto scale the cluster nicely. You add a new node, and then you really don't have to do much. Right now, there's like a lot of operational overhead and a lot of config tweaking when we add one. So that's where like that's kind of the motivation behind adding clustering. So imagine like Tremor being like a true distributed system And you will still have the current option of running Tremor without the distributed context, because honestly, like adding distributed mechanics like that improves like certain workflows, but it is like a distributed system can be like a lot more painful to manage, right, compared to like a totally like stateless and system like we have right now. So there's like a trade-off there, but we hope like for the workflows it's going to improve, it will be worth it, and the other option will always be available in Tremor anyways. So yeah, that's kind of the summary for like the thing we're trying to introduce.
So it'll be like you'll be able to write a select statement that contains your JSON-like data, but it's distributed now. So if you understand little bits of SQL and little bits of JSON, you can call yourself a distributed systems programmer and get the big bucks just by running a SQL query. So that's pretty cool. It's cool trickle right there.
You can write like distributed applications in Tremor now. So after this is done,
we're going to have another episode. I think that's for sure.
Well, until we are there, it will take a while.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, distributed systems are not implemented overnight.
There
are a lot of
So
nights
this work
involved.
is ongoing. It'll likely be the simpler infrastructure for clustering will get out first in a release over the next few months. We are going to go all the way towards fully automated, fully migrating, full distributed applications in Tremor, probably towards the end of this year before a lot of that comes out, because we're going to test it to absolute destruction before we put any of those features into anywhere near a release.
I'm assuming,
because at the end of the day, we're a production project, so we run very close to production. And pretty much every feature in Tremor, even the Discord bot runs in production. So every feature in there is a production feature. So we play it safe when it comes to the logic.
I'm assuming that's coming in the Pony rewrite, right? Tremor to written in Pony.
Called Tremor then.
Matthias, how are you with the Pony rewrite of everything?
Yes, the first 90% are done.
Does Pony do SIMD JSON yet?
Yeah, well, there's won't it, Matthias?
Yeah, it doesn't need to.
Doesn't need to. It's slow enough without it.
All right. I'm going to let you just get back to your day. That was really interesting. I think we had a lot of fun there. This is definitely the most fun I've had on a stream. So I'm going to thank you all for bringing just such a cool demo to play with Discord and make it really visual and interactive for the people that are watching, and for bringing the Cookie Monster. I'll never say no to having more Cookie Monster in the streams. So again, thank you very much. Really cool technology. I'm looking forward to playing with it more. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you all soon.
Yeah. Thank you for having
Awesome.
us.
Thank you for having us.
Bye.
everyone.
Ciao, ciao.